Peter was a very impulsive, impetuous, forward kind of a guy. You know, Peter was the type of dude that, you know, was ready and willing to point out the faults of others and express his mind. And it's crazy because Peter also was the type of a guy that felt like his spirituality was better than everybody else. In the Gospels, in Mark chapter 14, Christ is like, you know what, disciples? All you guys are going to be offended of me because of this night. And Peter's like, you know what? Though everybody shall be offended, Lord, I'm not going to be offended. And so he had this holier than thou mentality. You know, Peter in his life had many failures. You know, Peter's known as the guy that denied Jesus Christ. And so oftentimes his life is made the subject of our jesting and our joking. But the thing that really hit me like a ton of bricks was that Peter was a representation of me. It's crazy because it goes even deeper than that. Not only is Peter a representation of me, but Peter is an example of all of Christians. You see, every single Christian has a little bit of Peter in their life. And so it's very necessary for us to look at the lessons from the life of Peter. For though Peter fell like leaves of a tree, eventually, through constant communion with the Father, the next year and years to come, he eventually rose up. And so this is lessons from the life of Peter. Now, Peter was a vessel. In the book of Matthew chapter 16 and verse 13, please stay with me. In Matthew chapter 16 and verse 13, the Bible says, when Jesus was coming to the coast of Caesarea Philippi, this is the part I want you to take in. The Bible says, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? So Jesus is saying, listen, when you guys go out into the highways and byways to preach the gospel, who are people saying that I am? And the Bible says, and they said, some say John the Baptist, some say Elias, others Jeremias, or one of the prophets. So they're like, when we go out to preach and preach about the kingdom and the good news of salvation, and that the Messiah has come down, some people are like, man, who is this, John the Baptist? Who is this, Elijah, Jeremiah, or just one of the prophets? And then Christ is like, okay, that's what people are saying. Okay, but when you guys go out, whom do you say that I am? He flips it. And you know what the Bible says? The Bible says, and Peter. Now, originally, everybody answered, but now, Peter answers. And so notice what the Bible says. The Bible says, and Peter answered, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And so when Christ heard that, he's like, okay, he's like, blessed art thou, Simon Barjona. Why? Because flesh and blood has not revealed this unto you, but my Father, which is in heaven. Please take this in. Here the Bible is saying that Peter, when he spoke and said, Christ, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God, Jesus Christ responded to Peter and he said, Peter, your flesh, your blood did not reveal this unto you, but God literally used you as a vessel by which his Spirit could speak and glorify Christ. And so when you take this in, this is deep because not even 10 verses down, we pick up in the but the Bible says, from that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the third day. So Christ now tells the disciples, he's like, you know what, guys, I'm going to have to go to Jerusalem, and some bad things are going to happen to me. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get killed, and don't lose hope because I'm going to get raised the third day. Now, notice what the Bible says in the next verse. The Bible literally says, now Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Peter rebuked Jesus Christ. It says, and saying, be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. Notice next what the Bible says. Peter's saying, Lord, you're not about to be crucified. Nah, that's not about to happen. But you know what the Bible says? The Bible says, but he, speaking about Jesus, but Jesus turned and said to Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men. What? The Bible said that Jesus turned and said to Peter, get thee behind me, Satan? Who is he talking to? Peter? Is he talking to Satan? Who? Clearly the Bible is showing that Peter is now being used as a vessel for Satan. Friends, what's the lesson? In literally no less than 10 verses, we have Peter on one side being used as a vessel by which God can use to glorify Christ. And literally not even 10 verses down, we have the same Peter being used as an instrument or a vessel by which Satan could use to take away from Christ. And so what's the lesson, friends? The lesson is mankind. Peter being a representation of us, of me. Peter is just a vessel. You might go to church and feel all high and lifted up because you're singing a song or preach a sermon, but just know that literally not even 10 verses from your life, not even 10 minutes from your life, you same one can be used as a vessel for Satan. And so one thing we have to understand as Christians, as young people, is that every single thing we do, whether it be the music that we listen to, the movies that we watch, the books that we read, the friends and companions that we share, friends, every single thing is leading and telling towards who we will be, a vessel to. This is Lesson from the Life of Peter. Who are you a vessel to?